And we're back with more of the Pope on film.
Funny!
Yes, I've been watching too many black metal documentaries.
Blackmail?
Black metal.
Black metal, okay. I thought he was watching too many documentaries about black males. It's like, that's racist. Black metal documentaries. Why are you bringing this up? What?
Oh, I thought it meant blackmail. Like I'm gonna blackmail you.
Yeah, I thought that too. Why have you watched too many blackmail documentaries?
Black male? Black metal.
Black metal.
Black metal. I don't know why. I'm not very musical, but I find musical documentaries fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell
Okay.
that's up. So yeah, there've been quite a few.
I have the new David Bowie documentary. I say new, it's from last year. Moon Age Daydream. I've had it on my computer. Never seen it. Haven't gotten around to it. I love David Bowie, but I haven't.
Yeah.
No, don't.
According to Uberfacts, Jim Carrey got $7 million for Dumb and Dumber, and then Jeff Daniels got $50,000. According to Uberfacts, thank you for that, Shane P. Granger. That is effed up.
Jeff Daniels, he deserves more.
Jeff Daniels deserves more, and also, it's Dumb and Dumber. It's not Dumb and Friend.
Right?
It's not Dumb and his sidekick Dumber.
Their friendship.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I also saw David Bowie live. So, Bonnie,
Yes.
if you're like me, you're no doubt a big fan of this podcast, The Pope on Film. I mean, who is it nowadays? It's sweeping the nation. It's mopping the nation. It's the Ionic Breeze Quadra of bizarre movie podcasts, but only the real fans, the true fans who have been with us since the beginning, since when we first started out, who have watched every episode, who participates in the fantasy leagues at home. Only they would know the two facts about us, the two undeniably really real and in no way made up on-the-spot facts about America's hottest will they or won't they couple, the next Sam and Diane, Bunny and Lynn. First and foremost, Bunny, is the fact that when you are not doing the podcast, you are in fact a celebrated food critic. So tell us, Bunny, what restaurants are you reviewing? What do you like, dislike, etc.? Why don't you open the door of the window of your mind?
Well, you really have to dive deep and look in all the nooks and crevices to find really good food out there. And Harry's Barbecue and Tattoo Parlor, excellent fries. Excellent fries,
Nice.
Some of the best fries you will ever have in your life. Don't mind the roaches. If you don't bother them, they won't bother you. And they are free, so there's really no complaint coming in there. Some people have bowls of peanuts. Harry's has cockroaches. It's part of the ambiance of the whole thing. Yes.
Nice.
There is also Dino's House of All Things Slimy.
Nice.
They specialize in undercooked egg whites.
Undercooked egg whites.
Yes.
That would be a great slur for white people. Undercooked egg whites. Undercooked egg whites are, as most people know them, Mormons.
White people.
I like that. Undercooked egg whites. That was originally going to be the name of the Bare Naked Ladies.
Undercooked egg white.
Well, it's been If you want to find a Gen X person in a crowd, just walk into the crowd and go, "It's been," and then see who finishes.
Yes.
That's how you do it. It's kind of the same way that people would get Cartman to sing "Come Sail Away." You start the song and then Cartman has to finish it.
Yes.
I can't believe South Park is still a thing. I can't believe Beavis and Butthead have come back. I can't believe that Howard Stern is considered like a news source.
Yes. How the fuck did that happen?
I can't believe that there are millions of Joe Rogan fans out there and people aren't going, wait, you're obsessed with the janitor from News Radio? That's weird. That's weird.
Is that where he's from originally?
Yeah, I first saw him as the dumb janitor from News Radio. And then after that, he was the host of Fear Factor. And now he's like the leader of a bunch of, like a angry cishet white men. Go figure.
I wouldn't call him quite a leader. Joe Rogan is just really, really stupid. That's Joe Rogan's story. He's just really fucking dumb. As opposed to a lot of other people who are doing things more to be vindictive and mean and paint a false narrative.
Okay. Hear me out here. Joe Rogan is Alex Jones for people who do shots.
No, I gotta disagree with that because again,
I thought that was good.
Joe Rogan, Alex Jones is mean. Alex Jones is mean and vindictive, and is an evil motherfucker. Joe Rogan is stupid. If you tell him something, he's just gonna believe it and regurgitate it.
Yeah,
But at the same time, that stupidity plays both ways.
Okay. I gotcha.
He did manage to check Matt Walsh live on air.
That was funny.
Funny. It's a different vibe. I mean, we shouldn't have stupid people having audiences of millions and millions of people.
Yeah. When we're delivering gold.
That's
like
right.
Twice a month.
That's right.
This is the podcast to be in. So that's the first fact. The second fact, which is about me, is that I'm a lover of history. I love it, but I'm also a storyteller. So this is the part of the podcast where I get a story from the history books, maybe one that people don't know very well, and reword it via my own unique storytelling style. And that's what this is, another educationally uneducational installment of Historic Approximations, or as we call it, And to be clear, for all of you doing the Pope on Film Fantasy Leagues at home and online, that's spelled capital H, capital A, small p. And the small p is essential. It's vital to the ebb and flow of the whole podcast. In fact, I wanted to call it Historic Approximations, but Bunny said, no, mail in. I need P.
Yes.
Get me that P. I love myself some P.
We've got to go back to P.
Yeah, and so now it's HAP. Previously, it was called SHAP for a number of years. That was Steve's Historic Approximations. However, a dead name is a dead name, and so we're moving on. So, what is happening with HAP this week? Well, this one is a little different. Originally, my plan was I want to make this a very personal episode of the Pope on Film because I just had my birthday. I turned older than you'd think. So this is going to be a different sort of, very personal about me. But instead, I said, how about we just make it fun and easy? So, instead, what we're going to do is I've made a game. We have had 46 presidents in America, and there's something that I think that our listeners may not know about Bunny and I is the fact that we are both political historians.
Yes. Yes.
Bunny has his doctorate in U.S. history. I have my doctorate in overwater basket weaving. That's when you weave baskets, but you're walking on water while you do it. It's a Christian thing.
Well, let's not forget all of your work in the Teapot Dome scandal.
Of course. When you're talking about the Teapot Dome scandal, of course, you got to be talking about Albert B. Fall, the Secretary of the Interior during the Harding administration, who was responsible for the infamous Teapot Dome scandal, which was the worst scandal in political history until every other Republican that came after him. So what we're going to do is, I have got a picture of every president. Bunny has it all locked and loaded. We're going to go through each president, and Bunny and I will be taking a small bit of time for each president, telling you, the viewers, some fun facts about these presidents that you may not know. So, using our historical knowledge, Bunny and I, as United States historians, presidential historians, we're going to be letting you people know some incredible facts that the common people just don't know about. So are you ready, Bunny?
I am ready. I am over ready.
Okay. So put up the first president. This is, it looked really good for a second right between us. Go ahead and put it up. This is George Boom Boom Washington.
Yes.
That was his nickname, Boom Boom. He was actually the first sweat hog.
He was the first sweat hog. Yes, he was.
Yeah. Here's a fun fact that people don't know about George Washington. People all the time, I think it's a bit overused, but people say, oh, wooden teeth. George Washington had wooden teeth. He also had brass testicles and a copper asshole.
Yes.
It's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating. I'm pretty sure the ruffles on his chest also deflected bullets.
In fact, in times of stress, a little propeller would come out of that copper asshole, and he would fly away.
Yeah, not too many people know that about George Washington. Like, if he was panicked, he could be like, go Washington jet skis! And then jet skis would appear from his
full accurate name is George Gadget Washington.
Yeah, George Gadget Washington is fascinating. Okay, let's move on to the second one. John Adams. Fascinating thing about John Adams is that you see the hair. You see the big hair on the side of his head?
Yes.
That's not hair. Those are wings. At night in D.C., he would flap his hair wings, and he'd just be flying all over the sky. John Adams.
See, that I heard different, okay? Because I had heard that was definitely his hair, and it continued growing throughout his life until he became Cousin It.
The crazy thing is, here's another president with a bunch of frills on his shirt. Don't go to Florida. They'll execute you. If George Washington literally walked into Miami Beach, Florida, they would think he's a drag queen and shoot him on sight.
Yes, this is true.
With the powdery face and the, wig. Man, our first two presidents would be killed. Fascinating. Okay, let's move on to number 3, Thomas Jefferson. I know so much about Thomas Jefferson because I recently saw a play about Thomas Jefferson. Well, it wasn't about Thomas Jefferson, but Thomas Jefferson was in the play. Anyway, I know a lot of facts from this play about Thomas Jefferson. Number 1, he was black. Number 2, he was a great rapper.
Yeah.
And number 3, I'm not sure if you know this, but when they would have cabinet meetings, they were actually just rap battles.
Yeah.
That's incredible. You know, that Thomas Jefferson could just, he was rapping for America.
Yes, he was also a very avid hamster hunter.
Avid hamster hunter.
Avid hamster
Avid.
hunter. If you would go to a tour on Monticello, you would see the trophy room of all the little hamster heads up on little plaques all over the room. All over the room. Just
I heard that Bad Bunny is going to be headlining Monticello this year, which is going to be a big deal.
yeah.
I love the Monticello Music Festival. I go every year, take some Molly, and just just party out in the desert. Let's move on to number 4, James Madison. This one looks like our first fancy boy president. I'm not exactly sure why. He looks anemic.
Yeah.
He looks like if you just pricked him lightly, he would pass out.
And this is the one that is definitely giving off the Christopher Lee vibes.
See, okay, because I thought that one of the presidents gave off Christopher Lee vibes, but it was a different one. That's fascinating. Okay, fun fact about James Madison: he was a president, and he was a Democratic Republican, and he had a wife, Dolly Madison.
Wife made ice cream. Yeah.
She invented cupcakes and Snoopy.
Mm-hmm.
And then James Madison and Dolly Madison had a daughter. Her name was Ashley Madison. She slept with every person in Philadelphia. They made a website about her. Keys? Oh, yes, here they are. James Madison. He does give off Christopher Lee. He does give off Chris. He looks like he'd put you in a giant wicker man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But Lily Sobieski's nowhere to be seen.
Even in this picture, he looks like he's trying to take over your mind. Like he's trying to get in there. Yeah.
James Madison was our first scanners president.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's move on to number 5, James Monroe. He was president from 1817 to 1825. Fun fact about James Monroe, he was not killed. He actually disappeared because one day, coming home from a speech, he crossed a bridge that was in Sleepy Hollow, and he disappeared. All they found was his hat. Some say the Headless Horseman got him.
Yeah.
Doesn't he give off Headless Horseman vibes? Look at him.
Yes, he is also much later, one of his descendants would become Bob the Goon.
Very much so. Definitely Bob the Goon. Bob the Goon. Love that. I'm a big Bob the Goon stan. Let's move on to number 6, John Quincy Adams. The TV show Quincy was based on his life. Not a lot of people know that. Also, just look at that photograph. Just look at that photograph. He was our first evil supervillain president.
Yes.
He became president after poisoning the water supply in Gotham. Eventually, he would nearly freeze to death, so he made a giant helmet, and he would just go around making speeches and then freezing everyone.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. He didn't get much presidenting done, but he did create the first freeze ray. Yes.
Yeah. Those eyebrows, fascinating. Okay, let's move on to number 7, Andrew Action Jackson. Action Jackson. He was our first Wraith president.
Yeah.
Because you look at that picture, you cannot tell me that this person is living.
No,
not at all. Where did you get your weirdo cape? Somewhere Dracula's going through his closet going, damn it, where did I put that?
The only president to actually be painted out of focus.
Yeah. He looks so sad. I want to give Andrew Jackson a hug. He looks like he's seen some things, you know? He's seen some things. He has the look when your parents say, "Look, I'm not angry at you. I'm just disappointed." That's the look. That is the look.
Yeah.
My dad walks into my room and sees me wearing women's clothes. This is the face he makes.
Yeah.
Right there. I feel this painting. I don't want to give Andrew Jackson a hug anymore. He's a bigot. Let's move on to number 8, Martin Van Buren.
Well, I don't think we're going to find any of these presidents who is not a bigot one way or the other.
Good point. Yeah, like Barack Obama wasn't a bigot, but you know who was a bigot? All the drones he sent to kill innocent people. So we are on.
Well, he was very like, yeah, women can wait for their abortion rights. They could just hold on. We have more important things to do.
There's no rush. Number 8 is Martin Van Buren. He is the president who looks the most like someone who would be drinking at Hogsmeade.
All of a sudden, I'm in the mood for oatmeal.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. Now, a lot of people assume that Martin Van Buren is where the street in Phoenix Van Buren got his name from. No, it's actually the reverse. Martin Van Buren's parents were psychic. And so his parents said, "What should we name this child? I think Martin is a good name, but how about this? How about we don't give him our last name Smith? How about we give him the name of what will eventually become a street in Phoenix where all the prostitutes work?" So that's why he's called Martin Van Buren. Fascinating. He was named after a street where prostitutes hang out.
Oh,
Martin Van Buren.
And not the other way around. Okay, good.
Nope, not the other way around. Yeah. So, let's move on to number 9. I am sorry, Bunny. William Henry Harrison. He died in 30 days. I swear to you, this man starred in Blood of the Revenge of Vengeance of Dracula.
Yeah.
A Hammer production. That face right there. Look, and secondly, look at that nose. That is legit polystyrene. You can collect it at the reception. Now, please go away. Look at that nose. And look at that peak. Look at that widow's peak he has. Somewhere Dracula's daughter is bald. He's got that arrow. He might be an avatar. Yeah. He might be the chosen one. He might be the reincarnation of Aang or Ong, depending on how big of a fan of M. Night Shyamalan you are. Mavis. Thank you. Mavis is the name of Dracula's daughter. He looks like a specific British actor that I cannot pin down.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to figure it out, but I can't think of what his name is, but he looks like a British character actor who pretended to be drunk in a lot of things.
Yes.
He might have been drunk in the movie Yellowbeard, but I'm not sure. But he looks like a British character actor.
What made him go with the comb forward?
I don't know. Maybe that was a thing back then? But that is a huge snoz. Why do people not talk about William Henry Harrison's huge freaking hunker? That is insane. Like if there was a missing person, you would get the missing person shirt, give it to William Henry Harrison to sniff. Next thing you know, he's on all fours. He's leading it to the body.
Yeah.
That is a fascinating note. Let's move on to number 10, John Tyler. Steven Tyler's great-grandfather. They both share a flair for fashion. Check out that super extra bow tie.
Yes.
Jeez Louise. Fun thing about his bow tie, if someone was giving him sass, he would undo the bow tie and start whipping it around like Indiana Jones.
If Dr. Seuss were to draw a president, it'd be this guy.
That's really good. That's really good. Number 11, James K. Polk. Now, you might be wondering about the thing over his neck. He actually wore that for his entire life until the day that he died. Right before he died, his wife said, "James, darling, is there anything I can do for you?" And James said, "Yes, you can finally remove the thing from my neck." And when she removed the thing, his head just fell right off. It's fascinating. They wrote a kid's story about it later on.
Oh, nice.
But that ribbon was keeping his head up. Zachary Taylor, that's number 12. Let's move on to number 12. Zachary Taylor. Okay. So this is Zachary Taylor. First off, I'm loving what's his name? The old guy from who was dating Squeaky from Once Upon a Time. ...
Yeah.
Dern.
Bruce Dern.
Yeah, I love Bruce Dern in his new role. It's fascinating. Number 2, the thing I love about Zachary Taylor is he was actually a Civil War reenactor before the Civil War. That's what I was thinking. He was the first pre-Civil War reenactor.
He looks like a Civil War reenactment got out of hand.
Yeah, except this was pre-Civil War, so it's really fascinating. But credit to Bruce Dern. He's amazing.
We're just not seeing where he's holding up the little plaque with the numbers on it.
Yeah.
And we're not seeing the profile.
My darling Dolores, the war drags ever onward. Yeah, I can absolutely see that. I have been waiting to get to number 3, Millard Fillmore. This is the first and only time that any American has ever said, "I have been looking forward to Millard Fillmore." That sentence has never been said before. You'll get a plaque if you search that on Google. And Google will be like, "Wow, no one has ever searched this." But the thing I love about Millard Fillmore, take a look at his face. Millard Fillmore is what happens when Alec Baldwin has a peanut allergy.
Yes. Yes.
That is incredible. That is him. Man, Alec Baldwin really let himself go ever since the Rust shooting.
This is Benny Hill if he kept his hands to himself.
Oh my God, yes. Yes. If they made a serious version of the Benny Hill music.
Yeah.
I was about to start humming the Benny Hill music, but my head could only remember the Casino Royale music.
Oh.
And Woody Allen is hiccuping. I don't remember the Benny Hill music, but I might be the only person who's like, "Oh, I can only remember the 1960s Casino Royale." I don't even think Woody Allen remembers the 1960s Casino Royale. Number 14, Franklin Pierce. He was actually the founder of Pierce Hawthorne Wipes, which is incredible, fascinating. I don't know about you, but this is the vibe that I'm getting. Franklin Pierce was our
10-minute warning.
Folk singer president.
Yeah.
You know, doesn't he look like he's at a coffee shop somewhere? He's at a coffee shop somewhere picking on Walter Paisley.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I could see
screw Franklin Pierce. Number 15, James Buchanan. I gave up cussing for Lent. I've never given up anything for Lent. I've never taken Lent seriously, but this time I said I'm going to give up something for Lent. I gave up cussing, and it's been freaking difficult. But I'm just going to come out and say it. James Buchanan looks batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. He reminds me of that story about, like, hey, we're making the first encyclopedia, the first dictionary, and this person just writes like 3 million definitions, and it's like, oh wow, thank you so much. You've helped us so much. Why don't you come and visit us, or I'll come visit you? And turns out that the person who made all these definitions was in an insane asylum. That's James Buchanan.
Yes.
This man is insane.
He's the one who sold the Fiji mermaid.
He looks like he's definitely peed on a public bus. He's the person where if you're in the subway and he walks in, he probably has like a dead squirrel in his hand, and you're like, okay, I'm going to move cars. Number 16, Abraham Lincoln. Why is this man so fuggo? Why is this man so ratchet ass? Look at this man. He is hideous.
Yes.
He is so freaking ugly. This man. I love Abraham Lincoln. I love him. He was our first vampire hunter president. But Jesus Christ, that face. Wow. He was our first paper bag president.
Yes, he was.
He wore a paper bag over his face. No wonder he was wearing a stovepipe hat. He was peacocking to make people not see his hideous face. Ugh. Ugh. This man. Ugh. This grosses me out. This man grosses me out. He also has my grandfather's ears.
Oh,
like cauliflower ears. He has cauliflower ears.
Yeah.
That is a hideous sight to see. Number 17, Andrew Johnson. Okay. Andrew Johnson is the first person to say, look, I don't care how old you are. Your Frisbee fell in my yard. It's mine now.
Yes.
He was the first person to ever say that. Fascinating. He was a pioneer. He was a pioneer. Number 18.
This face right now, when this picture was taken, was when he was attending his first drag show.
Andrew Johnson is the definition of resting bitch face.
Yes.
He reminds me of Black Dynamite. Like the portrait artist is like, Mr. President, why don't you smile? And he goes, I am smiling. That's his smile.
Whatever's going on at the time this picture was taken, he did not approve.
Who can turn the world on with his smile? Andrew Johnson. He's gonna make it after all. This is fun. Number 18, Ulysses Grant. If you told me that this was Chris Pratt's grandfather, I would believe you.
Yeah, I could go with that.
100, but not now, Chris Pratt. Not action movie superhero Chris Pratt. Fat Parks and Rec Chris Pratt. If you told me this was fat Chris Pratt's grandfather, I'd be like, yup, no, spitting facts, no doubt there. Rutherford B. Hayes. he looks like he looks like he stinks.
Yeah.
He looks gross. He's also another Bruce Dern president. He looks like Cliff Booth is waking him up to make sure that these hippies aren't taking advantage of him.
But he did keep the beard well trimmed, I am noticing. I think he needs a couple of points for that. The
Okay,
Bob's
yeah.
big boy flip on the top there probably could have done without that.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to number 20, James A. Garfield. His name is actually James, comma, a Garfield, because he was a Garfield. And they called him that because he was actually, this is a true story, he actually traveled on a diplomatic mission to Italy. He was the first American to try lasagna. And so he got the lasagna, he brought it back to America, and he said, hey, I'm president. I'm the president. My name is James. A couple of things. Number one, I hate Mondays.
Yeah.
Number two, I have a cousin. His name is Nirmal, and I have just signed an executive order to send him to Abu Dhabi. Third, I have found this thing. It's called lasagna. I love it. Watch me eat it. He just stuffed the whole thing in his mouth, and he said, I'm going to eat this every day. This is now the only thing I eat. And he got really fat, and he died. And that's why his name is James, comma, a Garfield, because he was a Garfield. Chester, let's move on to 21, and then we'll stop there. Maybe we can do this like maybe we can continue this next week. Would you like that, Bunny?
We can do that.
Because this is so much fun. But let's move on to 21. 21 is Chester A. Arthur. If you told me this was Sergeant Pepper, I would absolutely believe you.
Yes. Yes.
This is Sergeant freaking Pepper. He is fighting the Blue Meanies. I love this man. He looks like he stays in a bathtub. He is one of the Golga Frenchums. Is that it? No, the people who were on the life raft who effed up. Anyway, this man lives in a bathtub.
To me, he looks like that guy who was in that movie. You know that guy, that one guy who was in that movie? He was also in that other movie. You know, he's been in a lot of movies, that guy. You know,
if
no
you saw his face,
movie,
you'd recognize him if you saw his face. You would know.
You would know who it was. John Goodman was like that for the longest time.
Yeah. This has been so much fun. We taught people about 21 presidents, fun facts that they did not know. And we're going to continue this in our next episode. We're going to start with number 22, Grover Cleveland. He was our first Howard the Duck president, and we're going to try and continue on, see if we can finish next week. Because this has been so much fun, Bunny.
Yes, it has.
This was a blast. So that is it for Historic Approximations this week. Be sure and join us next week for more educationally uneducational fun as we continue our look at the history of American presidents. And cut on that.
And we're back with more of the Pope on Film.
Nice. Bunny!
Yes.
If you're like me, and I know I am, gee, we sure do like to have fun here at the Pope on Film podcast. But you know what's not fun? My moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis, or RA. That's why Bunny and I take prescription Xeljanz. Xeljanz is a pill, not an injection or infusion, and is clinically proven to help adults with moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis, or RA. Side effects of Xeljanz includes...
Oh, you're expecting me side effect? You're expecting me to jump in here with the side? I am side effects. I represent side effects. Okay.
This is the totally planned and scripted part where you list off the side effects of prescription Xeljanz.
Okay. Well, there is difficulty breathing, loss of consciousness, violent convulsions, pain, nausea, and then finally death. Thank you, Vincent Price.
I want soft convulsions. Why do they have to be violent? I want some smooth, jazz, easy listening adult contemporary convulsions.
Yes.
That's what I want. Convulsions where it's just sort of like, hey.
Yeah.
Like that. Catalina Breeze. Yeah, that was fun. Anyway, regular opening.
I just totally stole that
funny,
from Alice Cooper's Black Widow, the Vincent Price part.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. Okay.
I didn't quite get it right, but I needed something in a hurry. It was a quick grab. It was right there.
Yeah, no, that was good. That was good. So regular opening, yada, yada, yada. This is the part of the podcast where I get a story from history and maybe reword it a little bit by my own unique storytelling pizzazz. And that's what this is, another educationally uneducational installment of Historic Approximations, or as we like to call it, HAP! And for those of you, no dramatic music.
Dun, 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 dun.
It's been a while, I feel, since you've done that. Oh, and for those of you taking part in the Pope on Film Fantasy Leagues online, that's capital H, capital A, but small p. That is important. It's crucial. It's vital to the whole ebb and flow of the podcast. And we need small p. I personally didn't want to do the small p, but Bunny said it's important to represent for small p havers everywhere.
Yes.
That was a quote from Bunny. And so I'm trusting Bunny in this. Big H, big A, tiny p. That's how it is. And to be clear,
representation is important.
It is. Well, another woke podcast from the liberal left. And then one thing that Republicans love saying is, well, I don't trust the left or the right. And it's like, okay, that's what right wingers say. So where were we? Oh yes, for years this podcast segment used to be called Steve's Historic Approximations, or SHAP, as I like to call it, repeatedly annoyingly, whether anyone wanted me to or not. But a dead name is dead for a reason, and so we're moving on. So today is a very special HAP. It is part 2. Last episode 251, we went president by president using our superior knowledge of presidential history, and told people some little known facts about all of our United States presidents. Well, we wanted it to be all, but we got to number 21, Chester, comma, Arthur.
Yeah.
And Arthur. Arthur, he does as he pleases, becomes the 21st president. He was our most Sergeant Peppery looking president.
Yes, he
Chester,
was.
Arthur. So this is part 2. We are going to continue on our discussion of American presidents, which may be hard, but I think it'll be difficult to do 22 to 46 in one day, but I have faith in us. Bunny, are you ready?
Let's find out. Yeah. Ready?
Okay.
Here we go.
Yes. We're starting now with number 22, Grover Cleveland. Do you got Grover Cleveland there?
Grover Cleveland. Yeah. I hope so.
Okay.
I hope that's Grover Cleveland. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. I have an idea for a high concept kids parody book. I need you to hear me out on this, Bunny. I call it The Commander-in-Chief at the end of this book, starring lovable, furry old Grover Cleveland.
Yes.
I think it's a great idea.
I think it's
And Grover Cleveland is scared of Commander-in-Chiefs. And so he's trying to get you to stop reading the book. And then here's my favorite part. In the middle of the book, to try and get you to stop reading, he filibusters the book.
Uh-huh.
And you just turn the page, and then in those 2 pages, it's nothing but words. And then you turn the page again, and it's nothing but words that you have to read because he's trying to filibuster the book.
Yeah.
I think it's a cute idea. The Commander-in-Chief at the end of this book, starring lovable, furry old Grover Cleveland.
But let's take it to prototype. You know, maybe if I see it. You know, maybe if I see it, I can feel it.
Hey, what percentage of American presidents do you think had a cauliflower ear, like they were a 1960s, 70s wrestler? Because that's definitely what Grover Cleveland has going on the side of his face. He's got one of them cloverleaf ears, like he's Bez. I would say like about 70% of presidents got the cauliflower ear.
I would think a lot because they used to wrestle bars back there.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Okay, now let's move on to number 23. This is Benjamin Harrison. Benjamin Harrison, or as you may also know him, Frasier's dad.
All the prostitutes just called him Benny.
Benny Harrison. That was the original lyrics. Benjamin! Benjamin! Benjamin Harrison! Originally, all of Elton John's songs were going to be about presidents. Hold me closer, Grover Cleveland. So Benjamin Harrison, Frasier's dad from Frasier, Eddie, that was the name of the dog. Eddie the dog. That was the name of Frasier's dog. Okay, I'm just happy that I remember that. But doesn't he look like him? I think he looks just like him.
He looks like him a lot, yeah.
Yeah. He looks like, the great thing about Benjamin Harrison is that he weeble wobbles, but he won't fall down.
That's always good in the president.
That's something you look for in the president.
But I grew up with Gerald Ford, so that might have something to do with it.
Yeah, yeah. So let's move on to number 24, Grover What? Surely there must be some mistake. But no! Number 24, the return of lovable, furry old Grover Cleveland. So, okay, our 22nd president and our 24th president were both Grover Cleveland. He is the first and to date only president to have 2 non-consecutive terms. And now Trump thinks he's going to be the second? I'm sorry. Trump is no Grover Cleveland.
No.
And that kind of makes me feel happy because sometimes I'm like, oh, goodness. People still like Trump. There's still a good chance he might win, but it's like, oh, there's only one other person one president who has ever had 2 non-consecutive terms. That's my boy Grover Cleveland, the Muppet. I don't think Trump can do it. Trump can't Grover Cleveland himself.
No. Damn,
Yeah.
they took a lot of time getting that mustache just right, though, didn't they? Look at that fucking thing. That is a fucking work of art right there. That mustache,
impressive.
look at it. It's got a perfect curl on it. There is
He looks
nice separation between, like,
He looks-
you could surf that fucking mustache.
He looks like Brian Doyle Murray. He really does. He's Grover Cleveland Murray. There's so many Murrays. It's ridiculous. So let's move on to number 25, William McKinley. So this is Billy McKinley. His grandson, Mark McKinley, was my favorite Kids in the Hall.
Yeah.
Look at his head. First off, he's got resting Sam the Eagle face.
Yeah. Oh God, definitely. Yes, definitely. His head is like almost perfectly cylindrical. Like there's no roundness going on there at all.
He has a tiki head.
Yes.
William McKinley, our first tiki president. And that's not a tie, and that's not a bow tie. I don't know what that is. That's a Hot Wheels play track.
It looks like a fun-sized Milky Way hot glue gun to a strap.
It looks
and
like a
painted
kid's
black.
seatbelt. It looks like a seatbelt. Like William McKinley had his own neck seatbelt built into his suits. I don't know why. It was bizarre. So let's move on to number 26.
I'm pretty sure that head comes off. I'm not terribly sure he's not robotic.
It looks like his head is his torso.
Yeah.
No Neck Joe. Fascinating to me. Absolutely fascinating. Let's move on to number 26, Theodore Roosevelt.
Teddy.
I am so shocked that this man was such a badass because this is straight up, this is a fancy boy president. Just going by the picture, it's like this man definitely had to be related to, what's his name? Walter from The Big Lebowski. He has resting John Goodman face.
Yes.
Very much so. He looks like he owns numerous Fabergé eggs.
He kind of looks like that kid from the Van Halen video, Hot for Teacher. What was his name? Was his name Waldo?
I was about to say, speaking of Van Halen, check out the wings on his collar there. He's got the Batman logo on his chest.
Yeah.
With that, like, I know some birds that don't have that wingspan on his jacket. Theodore Roosevelt's ready to fly away. Let's move on to number 27, William Howard Taft. He was president from 1909 to 1913, where the country was in such dire financial straits that they couldn't pay the lighting bill, which is why you can barely see William Howard Taft. He was like Batman. He was the president who lived in the shadows.
Yeah.
I want to grab that handlebar and just ride to town.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. That is a handlebar.
See, we should go back and try. Then we could determine exactly how long the big bushy mustache was in fashion.
Yeah.
So far, a lot of years, I'm guessing.
Okay, let's really quick just think of some things that from our modern day that would kill William Howard Taft. Explaining to him what a meme was.
Yes.
One sip of Jolt Cola.
Well, see, if we want to kill him, if we really want to kill him, okay, I am not showing him television. I am not showing him the internet. I am taking him straight ass to Pornhub.
Yeah.
Without explaining shit. Just be like,
His
wanna
head,
see
his head would
something?
explode like in Scanners.
Yeah.
Just that is phenomenal. I can see that. He looks like he would. I can't explain this, but William Howard Taft looks like he ate at a Fuddruckers. He's a regular at Fuddruckers. Not sure how. But let's move on now to number 28, Woodrow Wilson. I don't like all the W's at all.
No.
Now, it's so funny, Bunny, because Woody Wilson, he was the one who I swore was an actor in Hammer Films.
Yeah, I could see that.
He's got a long face. He's got a bit of a droopy going to him.
Yeah.
So like I can picture, he just shows up at the studio. Okay, what movie are we doing this week? Oh, The Curse of the Evil of the Revenge of Dracula's Frankenstein. Okay, whatever. Hi, Crushing. How are you? You doing good? How's your wife?
For me, he's just putting off the mean head of the orphanage. You know? Like he just looks like he really enjoys being cruel to orphans in particular.
Is he wearing tiny little glasses? He seems like the type of person who would be wearing tiny little glasses so that he can take them out and then yell about that frat house.
Yes.
Sigma Nu! Oh, the boys of Party House. That's Woodrow Wilson.
Yes.
Now let's move on to number 29. Wait, who is this? Warren G. Harding. Never heard of him.
No.
Warren G. Harding. There's nothing to say about Warren G. Harding. It's not like anybody knows anything about his presidency or any.
So you weren't
past or scandals or
you weren't
like,
able to.
I don't know off the top of my head who was his Secretary of the Interior, because that would be a bizarre fact for someone to keep in his brain.
Yeah.
His or her brain.
You weren't able to get a real picture of him?
Yes, I'm just fucking with you. That's Griswold.
Because that is like, I mean, if it looks like a Madame Tussauds wax figure.
Really, what I was thinking is Crandor, the Mentalist. He's touring with Mr. Kite.
Yeah.
Criswell over here. He was actually okay. I'm thinking of a loved one. Begins with an S.
Yeah.
Begins with an S. Yeah, that's what I see there.
Yeah.
Warren G. Harding.
I am thinking of a number between 1 and infinity.
Warren G. Harding gotta regulate. Regulators! Warren Harding was a G. So that's why they gave him that G in the middle. It's actually like an award.
Yes.
So that's 29. Let's move on to number 30, Calvin Coolidge. I feel like I could break him. Okay. Now,
I feel like I need to see him drinking water while the puppet talks.
I feel like, okay. I don't think I'm winning a fight against William Howard Taft.
No, okay, you don't think you could take down the Tafter?
I don't think I could beat Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, Teddy Roosevelt will kick both of our asses.
Chester
All
A.
over.
Arthur. I can't beat James A. Garfield, even though he eats nothing but lasagna. Ulysses S. Grant, James Buchanan looks insane, but I'm just saying it. I could beat Calvin Coolidge's ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Calvin Coolidge looks like, oh my God, Mount. What's the name of the kid from Bob's Burgers that's always sick? And he has an Rudy. Yes, Calvin Coolidge looks like Rudy, the sick kid from Bob's Burgers. He walks around with an inhaler. That's Rudy. Oh, that's wonderful. Calvin Coolidge. You know
what else what else he looks like? Okay, because he looks like the guy he's the guy you would hire to model a X-ray specs.
Yeah, he looks like
he looks like he's staring through something right now, probably a female's clothing.
I'm just saying, with his pointy ears and his massive forehead and his sharp chin and his pointy nose, he might be an orc, or at least half orc.
Yeah.
Because the picture is black and white. His skin might be green.
And we're just not seeing that. As it was a light green, yeah.
Yeah, he just looks like, my mom was an American and my dad was an orc. And so there you go. They have pictures of him in college with like a nose ring and horns. I can absolutely see that. Let's move on to number 31, Herbert Hoover. Number 31. He definitely looks like he owns lingerie. 100%. Just look at his face. If he is looking at the camera and just thinking about the frilly things he's going to wear when he gets home.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. But
Period,
of course,
end of sentence.
Also remember to tune into his radio show Monday through Friday, 8 p.m.
I can hear his sermon.
Yeah.
Just looking at this picture, I can hear his entire sermon. And
and it would be anti-female clothes.
Because it's so hot. I'm going to fan myself with my church program because I do declare it is hot here while the Reverend Hoover comes out to talk about Jesus. Again, how many of our presidents are Walter from The Big Lebowski? We have a lot of Lebowskian presidents.
Yes. Yes.
Because he looks like he could be Jeffrey Lebowski, the millionaire.
So now, are we seeing the modern tie for the first time here?
Maybe. Yeah, it might be nothing but ties from here on out. So let's move on to number 32, Franklin D. Roosevelt. They made a movie. Look at that picture. Look at that face. Look at that face. They actually made a movie about the life of Franklin D. Roosevelt. It came out in 1977, and it was called The Incredible Melting Man.
Yes.
Look at that face.
But I do admire how he used to get out there and like wrestle bears and fight the Spanish and English war, the Spanish whatever war, and like build the canal and all of that while being paralyzed, good on him. Good on him.
Yeah. Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Yeah.
His that skin. He was our first turquoise president. So that's good. I like that. Let's move on to number 33, Harry S. Truman. He's got a secret, but he's not going to tell you. That's
No.
Harry Struman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harry Struman. He looks like a narc. Such a narc.
I went totally at the. He looks like he owns the deli.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, he's like,
Yeah.
you want the pastrami? The pastrami's really fresh today. The pastrami's really good. I recommend the pastrami. You might want a little sauerkraut on the side with the pastrami. Got some really nice half sour pickles for you.
See, to me, he's one of those people that just wakes up at 4 a.m. on a Sunday.
Just because.
And by 6 o'clock, they've already like walked 5 miles and had breakfast at some diner. Oh, hey, Gladys. That's Harry Truman.
Yes.
Let's move on to number 34, Dwight Schrute Eisenhower. He was America's first turtle president.
Yes.
He was a turtle, and a lot of times he would do speeches, and then he would go and sun himself on a rock. And he would say, like, America is a good country. That was the direct quote. Thank you, Mal, for backing me up. They just keep getting older and older, and then boom, 35, John Kennedy, code breaker.
Oh, we're going on? Okay.
Yeah, let's move on to number 35, John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy.
What, me worry?
Let me tell you something about John F. Kennedy. He blows my mind. When I think of JFK.
Yes.
This man.
We literally got a piece of his mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
We watched it go flying off.
Well, it can't be said that Dallas doesn't love you, Mr. President. He got that Prince Charming teeth. He got that ooh, man. He can crack open walnuts.
Oh, come on. And especially with this picture. Especially with this picture, you just put a little more gap between those front teeth. He is Alfred fucking E. Newman.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Yeah. John F. Kennedy is our first president where if you grabbed him by the chin and lifted it up, Pez would come out.
Yes.
So let's move on to number 36, Lyndon B. Johnson. This man. I don't think this man was real. This is just a rubber
10-minute warning.
chew toy. This is just a chew toy.
Yes.
That's not a real. He was our first testicle president. He went pretty far for pro testicle rights.
Yeah, you know, he's odd. He did some good things. He did some really horrendous things.
Lyndon B. Johnson was the first time in American history where people finally realized, wait, so if the president dies, this douchebag? And that's why when what's his name? That's why when George H.W. Bush was president, all the presidential shooters went, nope.
Yeah.
Not at all. We good. wow, we are not going to finish the presidents, but we're so close. We're going into the 70s. Let's move on to number 37, Richard Nixon.
Let's try to power through. I mean, come
Yeah.
on.
Okay, Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon looks like someone just airbrushed Lyndon B. Johnson.
This is correct.
Like looking at, like I'm going through a list of presidents on Wikipedia, so the pictures are right on top of each other.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to see Lyndon B. Johnson and Richard Nixon together. It's like they just made the nose bigger, did the wrinkles a little bit. I mean, it's the same person.
More or less.
Clone. We figured it out. Some presidential history uncovered right here on the Pope on Film podcast. Richard Nixon is a clone. And then let's move on to 38.
But even in this picture, you could tell that right down below there, Henry Kissinger is licking his butthole.
Yep, absolutely. So let's move on to number 38. Gerald Ford. He was our first minion president.
He was our summer replacement president.
You get
basically.
That picture. You take off his suit and put him in overalls, and you paint him yellow. You got a freaking minion on your hands.
Yeah, no, this is true.
And also, like a minion, I very much feel that you could distract Gerald Ford with a banana.
Yes. He was the substitute teacher president.
Hey, what's up? My name's Gerald Ford.
Nobody knew who he was.
Why did we watch a movie?
You know, he came out of nowhere and suddenly he was fucking president in a week.
Yeah. So, he was our summer romance.
Yes.
Oh, summer nights. I nailed that.
Who Chevy Chase owes his career to.
Basically. Let's move on to number 35. Jimmy Carter.
And really, that's it. Gerald Ford was the first Saturday Night Live president.
Yeah. Yes, Max? Oh, thank you. Love it. He's in the van? Awesome. Jimmy Carter was a peanut.
Yes.
Not too many people know that. You never saw Jimmy Carter fall, because if he falled, his shell would crack, and then the yummy nut inside.
Yes.
He was Mr. Peanut. Yeah. He was Mr. Peanut.
He was, for a very brief time, here's something important that nobody knows about Jimmy Carter, but for a very brief part of the time, he was a part of the Manson family.
Yeah.
He was Smiley Manson.
Yes.
There was Squeaky, there was Tex, there was Dopey. He was Smiley.
Yes.
Well, I do declare that I am the devil, and I believe that I am here to do some devil shit.
Yeah.
That's my Jimmy Carter as a member of the Manson family impression.
After shit went down, he was going to become a game show host, accidentally became president instead.
Thanks. Yeah, it's fun. Okay. Dang it. I really thought this is just so much fun.
Yes.
It's just so much fun that we just made it to Reagan. But we have 4 minutes left. We can't
Ronnie?
we can't rock it through.
Yeah, we should stop
like
it there.
7.
Sure you
Yeah.
can.
No, we can't. I can't do it. I can't
You
do
know
it.
what? You know what? I don't want to hear that kind of negative talk, buddy. All right.
Ronald Reagan was the first president to have their first lady get fucked by Mr. T.
See? There you
But
go.
not the last. I'm looking at you, Barbara Bush.
It's like, now we go down. You're down with Ronald. I mean, Ronald. You're done with Ronald. Done with Bush. You're down to
George H.D.W.B. WKRP in Cincinnati Bush.
Yeah. Now go to Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton, big time stepfather.
What are you doing? Are we going on or?
We're trying to.
I'm forcing
Okay.
it. I'm forcing it.
Number 41, George H.W. Bush.
Well, I don't know. I think these monkeys require more time since they're in our lifetimes.
Okay.
They need stronger roasting. I mean, you can't just gloss past Ronald fucking Reagan.
That's a good
Words
point. Okay.
must be said.
Yeah. So, okay. So we're going to stop at Ronald Reagan, number 40.
Okay.
And then we can spend more time in our next episode focusing on the modern presidents.
Well, let's go. How about we go back? Let's go back to Gerald Ford. How about that? We'll start with the Saturday Night Live president.
Yeah. Okay. So let me write this down because I'll forget it. 38 to 46. That'll be fun. This will be fun. I love doing this. This is such a friggin' blast. Okay. So we finish off our look at American presidents next week. No, I'm a vampire. Next week, if you're listening to this podcast, then you're lost. Okay, so next week we continue our look at American presidents, bless you, with number 38 to 46. So join us next week for more educationally uneducational fun with and cut on that bunny.
And we're back with more of the Pope on film. Yes.
If you're like me, and I know I am, you are no doubt a big fan of this podcast, The Pope on Film. I mean, who isn't? The Pope on Film is the world's greatest podcast that no one has ever heard of.
This is the truth.
When it comes to all of the podcasts out there that no one has ever heard of, we're number one. So, boom.
That is it.
Yeah. But only the real fans, the true hardcore fans that have been with us since the beginning. This is episode 453. So we have done 452 episodes before this one, of course. That's just basic math. And as everyone knows, we have always done this podcast 2 weeks apart. So when we started this podcast back in 2002, Bunny and I were on the same BBS in the same AOL chat room. And Bunny was thinking of a way for us to deal with our grief regarding 9/11. And then I said, I've got an idea, a 2002 idea. Podcasting. And he said, what's that? And I said, I don't know, but let's start doing it. And now here we are.
That's right.
Yeah. Only the true hardcore fans that have been with us since the beginning
loves us.
Yeah. Only the real fans know the two basic facts about the both of us. The two undeniably really real and in no way made up on the spot, possibly by one of my kids, wink, wink, facts about the both of us, America's hottest podcasting couple. And when I say podcasting couple, I mean that Bunny and I are very close and that sometimes we say that we love each other. We are not married.
No.
Despite what some people might think online, I am married to Natasha, who is my wife. I am not married to Bunny. Just want to make that clear.
No. And
Bunny wanted to,
and I am with Jeannie over here.
Yeah. I will say Bunny did want to marry me, but Natasha put a ring on it. So Bunny just missed out.
And she won Thunderdome fair and square. I mean, you know,
nice.
I think the chainsaw was a bit excessive, but, you know, it is Thunderdome, you know.
Thunderdome.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's Jeannie. Hi, Jeannie. The Twitch stream is a little bit late. Okay, the two facts, undeniably really real and in no way made up on the spot, possibly by one of my kids because I didn't want to write it. Facts about the both of us, America's hottest podcasting couple, Bunny and May Lynn. First and foremost, Bunny, is the first fact, which is about you, is the fact that when you're not recording the podcast, you are in fact a professional pooper. Now, I didn't know that you could make money from pooping, so tell us, Bunny, the fans want to know, how does that work? How do you make money on it? What do you call yourself? Like a person who works at a zoo is a zoologist. What do you call yourself? And how do you make money on it?
Well, technically, what I call myself is a rectal sculptor.
Nice.
Yes.
Kind of like a sandwich artist.
Through many years of practice, I can control my sphincter to the point where I can make Abe Lincoln bookends out of my own poop.
That's impressive.
And then of course, then I sell them on Etsy. That's how you make the money.
Yeah.
Etsy is where you really make that, bring that cash in.
Yeah. And the second fact, which is about me, is that I'm a lover of history. I love it, but I'm also a storyteller. So this is the part of the podcast, Act 2, where we get educational, where I get a story from the history books and maybe reword it a little bit to match my own unique storytelling razzmatazz. And that is what this is. Another educationally uneducational installment of Historic Approximations, or as we like to call it, and for those of you playing along at home, this segment is spelled capital H, capital A, but small p. That is vitally important. We need a small p. That's crucial to the whole ebb and flow of the podcast. And to be clear, this segment for years was known as Steve's Historic Approximations, or SHAP, as we like to call it, repeatedly, annoyingly, whether anyone wanted us to or not. However, a dead name is dead for a reason. That name was so 2008, whereas May Lynn is so 3008. So we are moving on. Once again, today is indeed a very special hap. It is the third and final chapter of our trilogy of history. For the last two episodes, we have been using our superior knowledge of the U.S. presidents and going through each and every president, telling you, the audience, some little-known facts about, by and large, a bunch of corrupt old white war criminals. Hooray!
Hooray!
The first episode, we covered presidents 1 through 21. That was George Washington, I think is how he pronounces his name. I don't know. Not too many people remember it. George Washington. And then to number 21, Chester, comma, and Arthur. The A in the middle stood for Anne, because he was an Arthur. And then in our last episode, we did Presidents 22. 22 was Grover Cleveland. That's why I was mentioning Howard the Duck. Whenever I see the name Cleveland, I pronounce it like Howard the Duck. So I have Howard the Duck on the brain because we're going through the presidents.
Who also my favorite Muppet.
Yes. Okay. Grover Cleveland.
Right.
Super Grover Cleveland.
We were deprived. We did not have Elmo yet.
Yeah. Elmo Nixon. So last episode, we did presidents number 22 to 37. Number 37 was Richie Nixon. He liked to be called Richie Nix because he was a big Stevie Nicks fan.
Yes, he was.
So
Yes, he was. He could do all the
he-
moves and everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
Richard Nixon could work a scarf.
yeah. So many scars. That's how he got his start. Johnny Depp saw Stevie Nicks on stage and said, "What if instead of one scarf, it was 12?" And then he did a shit ton of cocaine and decided to be an actor.
Yes.
There you go. So
you're
that
saying,
brings us.
are you suggesting he had the scarves first?
Yes, scarves first, acting second.
Okay.
You know who I learned that from? Sir John Gielgud.
Uh-huh.
So there you go. So it's factual. So that brings us more or less to the more recent presidential presidents. So this week, the shocking conclusion, shown with no commercial interruptions. Presidents number 38 to 46. Let's do this. Can you please pull up President? Okay, so right now we've got President 37. Richie Nixon. So he was a big time president. He had Nixon now more than ever. Nixon now more than ever. More than ever, we need Nixon now. That was his campaign song. So Richard Nixon, he was forced out of office. Do you know why he was forced out of office, Bunny? Let me tell you. He went after black dynamite.
Yes, he did.
And that's something that you don't do.
No.
You don't go against black dynamite. He declared war on anyone who sells drugs to the community.
That's right.
But black dynamite, I sell drugs to the community. God, what a wonderful movie that is. So good. So then they got Richie Nix out. And every once in a while, they'll do this thing in politics where it's like, okay, we got rid of the president. We need someone else. Oh, I know. We'll get the vice president. The vice president is... Oh, shoot. What's the name of the vice president? Such an important job. And the people who are vice president do so much. Let me just... Harrison Ford. No.
Well, but really, we had Nixon and we had Spiro Agnew as his vice president.
Yeah.
And Spiro Agnew fell first.
Yeah.
So Nixon then had to appoint another vice president. Where they looked, I do not know, to have found Gerald Ford, stuck him in the position, and
his head is in the perfect shape of a Mexican jumping bee.
Yes, Gerald Ford. The reason I think Gerald Ford is the first president of our modern era, I would say, because he was the first Saturday Night Live president. And Saturday Night Live gave him the reputation of being a bumbler, a stumbler, somebody who trips. This was Chevy Chase's whole fucking bit. But literally, this is the only man who literally just tripped into the fucking presidency.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what this guy reminds me of?
Nobody voted for him. Nobody knew who he was.
You know what I always loved about him, about Gerald Ford? You remember that weird period in time when they were making a bunch of movies
You froze.
jarring thumbs. Someone's thumb and then animate a face over it.
Right.
And the thumb would be acting. He was our first thumb president.
Yes, he was.
He is a giant thumb. He is literally, look at his face. His face is the entire body of a minion. If you just got his face and you painted it yellow, he was our second minion president. There was another minion president that we had. I don't remember his name. But if you just painted his head yellow and then put some overalls on him, he would be a minion.
Yes, he would.
Period. So that is Gerald Ford. Let's move on to number 39. So Gerald Ford left. And then in came number 39, Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter.
He was the first president to also be in a Steve Martin movie, which is a really big deal.
Yes.
Because, yeah, Abraham Lincoln. Okay, what did you do? Freed the slaves. Okay. Were you in a movie with Steve Martin, though? No, you were not. You were shot in a theater, but you know who wasn't in that theater? Steve Martin. Sorry.
Jimmy Carter was an odd one. First, he had us all really kind of nervous being like the first like really professed born again Christian candidate, you know? And then of course you go to an interview in Playboy magazine telling people how you've lusted in your heart. We don't care, Jimmy. We don't care. Bit weird.
He was also a peanut.
Yes.
He was a literal peanut.
Yes.
Not a lot of people know that.
But he turned out better than most, and of course the Republicans hammered him.
And then once he lost the presidency, he said, I am now going to devote the rest of my life to building homeless people.
Yes.
And he would just go from town to town building with a hammer and nails, building homeless people.
Yes.
Which I thought was very nice. He was our first and really only, he was our only John Denver president.
Yeah. I think he was the last president who gave a shit.
But that is exactly Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
He was our first and only Whole Foods president.
Yes.
He was the only president I could think of that if he went to talk to you, he would put his chair around backwards.
Yes.
He didn't have fireside chats. He had fireside hangs.
Yeah.
Where he'd turn his presidential chair around and go, hey, fellas, I just wanted to rap at you. I think abstinence totally rocks. That's the closest I'm going to get to a Jimmy Carter accent.
Not bad. Not bad.
It was all right. So let's move on to number 40, Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, the actor. Man, what a horrible idea that was. Let's make sure to never again hire someone who's just famous because they were on movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
Let's never make that mistake again.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about Ronald Reagan was that he was shot at and he almost died, but he didn't. So he came out and said, well, I'm Ronald Reagan and I am banning all assault weapons. And Republicans went, yes, a ban on assault weapons. What a great idea, Mr. President. We love this idea and will never turn against it. Why should everyone have assault weapons? Yes, let us ban them. I am so happy that we Republicans are passing this gun legislation. We won't forget that this happened. We support you. Let everyone in America remember that when you think Reagan, you think sensible measures to protect people from guns. We Republican Christians will never forget it.
Yeah.
Hooray, Ronald Reagan. It's fascinating how much, now that you mention it, how much when I look at Ronald Reagan, I picture freaking Eddie Murphy as Gumby. You know, it's so fascinating how pop culture makes you think about presidents. That when I think of Ronald Reagan, I think of Joe Piscopo, I think of Eddie Murphy as Gumby, and I think of Michael J. Fox.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Oh, and by the way, Dan Aykroyd was Jimmy Carter.
Dan Aykroyd was Jimmy Carter. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. And our next president, number 41, George H.W. Bush. The only good thing about George Bush was we gave Garth a pretty decent amount of work.
Well, okay. So let's just go back here a second, okay? So we have an actor who dabbled in politics a little bit, okay? But mostly an actor who, as vice president, has the former head of the CIA. So who exactly is really running things?
Yeah, you can say the exact same thing about George W. Bush.
Yeah.
So, like, George Bush was never our president. Just period. So, George H.W. Bush.
Dana Carvey,
every once in a while, America goes, I don't know, just fucking make the vice president the president. And so George H.W. Bush was, in our modern times, to use the parlance of the young people, George H.W. Bush was our most mid-president. He didn't do anything shocking.
No.
He didn't do anything. He didn't do nothing. He didn't do everything. He wasn't loved. The only good thing that I can remember George H.W. Bush doing is vomiting on like a Japanese emperor or something.
Yes. Which
like,
was fun.
Neat. Good for you.
Which was fun. But that's why we had Dan Quayle. Because Dan Quayle would take all the heat off of him. So every time something was like really going on in the country, like invading Nicaragua and taking Noriega out and arresting him, Dan Quayle would go do something stupid. And we would talk about Dan Quayle and the stupid thing he did. Pretty much where we are now, except like everything's at now.
Kind of like
everything's a distraction of a distraction.
In British terms, George H.W. Bush got Dan Quayle to be his vice president so Dan Quayle could Boris Johnson the country.
Yeah.
Like, I am a complete idiot and I'm doing horrible things, but also, look how silly I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So George H.W. Bush, our most boring president. He was our first president who was also a Pez dispenser.
Yes. Yes, he was.
Because you look at that. He looks like his teeth are made of Tic Tacs. He had Tic Tac teeth. They used to call him that, old Tic Tac teeth. That was the official nickname for. He had a jar of Tic Tacs. After Ronald Reagan, every president had to become obsessed with a candy and have a jar of it at their desk. So let's go through the different presidents. Okay, so after Reagan was George H.W. Bush. His favorite candy was Tic Tac, so he had a jar of Tic Tacs. After that was Bill Clinton. His favorite candy was Roofies, so he had a jar of Roofies on his desk.
Yeah.
George W. Bush's favorite candy was whatever sharp, shiny things, like a baby, like a 1-year-old. So George W. Bush was the first president where they had to baby-proof the White House.
Yes.
Yeah, let's move on to 43. 42. 42. William Jefferson Clinton. Is that his middle name?
I think
was
so.
That his middle name? Yeah, William Jefferson Clinton. Okay, I was just guessing, but I mean, when it comes to white people, there are only so many names that you can guess. So, where are we? I'm so high. Bill Clinton. He was a walking, talking, saxophone-playing sexual harassment lawsuit.
Yes, he was.
His hair was just a Brillo pad. When Hillary needed to wash the White House dishes, she would just pick up his head and just rub his head against the dirty dishes. He was like if Patrick Starr liked smelling women's hair.
Yes.
I never liked Bill Clinton. I liked the fact that he was our first president to be like, hey, we care about health. We care about the environment. We care about our kids growing up to be healthy. Now I'm going to eat $300 worth of McDonald's food in one sitting. And he would you would see him on the campaign trail, which was just his excuse to go to different restaurants and eat a shit ton of food. He didn't seem that healthy.
No.
And also, of course he's not healthy. What with all of the cigars, well, at least the ones that he smoked.
Yes.
Because he didn't smoke all of the cigars.
Yeah.
He saved some other ones for special time.
Yes. And the problem was is that, poor Monica Lewinsky just happened to have been there. He was trapped in the White House. He would much prefer picking up a nice, attractive woman from one of the local bowling alleys.
Bill Clinton is definitely our first president to go to a bar to pick up a woman, to be unsuccessful, and then when it's time for last call, getting whatever's left over.
Yes.
He was our first bar skank president. He was our first president where it wasn't beyond the realm of possibilities that he had an 8-track tape of Creedence Clearwater in his Buick LeSabre.
Yeah.
So, I've never liked Bill Clinton. I've never liked the Clintons. And the Republicans love attacking Bill and Hillary Clinton. It's like, I don't like either of them either. So, there you go. Don't care.
I shook Bill Clinton's hand. Personally, me.
What did you say?
I shook Bill Clinton's hand.
Nice. I shook John McCain's hand.
At the park in Yelm, Washington.
Yelm?
Yes.
Yelm.
And the school there, one of the elementary schools, the music teacher wrote the song It takes a village, and that's where that whole thing came from. It takes a village.
Huh.
Yeah.
I would like to go
How
to
about
to Yelm, and then wherever I found the sign Yelm, I would add an O.
Yelmo?
So now it's Yelmo.
Oh, okay.
Yelmo! That's what Yelmo says.
Yelmo.
That's what Yelmo says. So let's move on to number 43, our 43rd president, commander-in-chief of the United States of America, Dick Cheney. Because look between those eyes. Look between those eyes. You know what you see? Nothing.
No.
There's nothing behind those eyes. Nothing between those eyes. That man was more of a puppet than Kermit the Frog.
Yes.
He also, just looking at him, he looks Muppety.
He does. He does look very Muppety.
George W. Bush looks like a Muppet of George W. Bush.
Yes.
He was our first caricature president. And that's fascinating. I blame George W. Bush for
10-minute
Facebook.
warning.
Okay. I blame George W. Bush for Facebook.
Yeah.
Because George W. Bush said, okay, well, yes, 9/11 happened and it's really bad and it sucks and I'm sorry. So we can stop it from happening again. The only problem is no one will ever have privacy again. But we can stop terrorism. So we're going to stop terrorism. None of you have privacy anymore. And all of the patriots said, well, who needs privacy? Take away all of my freedom. And so, and now Facebook knows more about us than we do. And it's all George W. Bush's fault. Right there. That man started it. Your computer accepting cookies. This man started it.
Yes.
Oh, I downloaded this app on my phone. Oh, look, it's actually a Chinese app and it's spying on you. This guy right here. This man. It's all his fault. Number 44, our 44th president, Barack Obama. He was our one and only cool president. Well, I mean, him and James Buchanan, am I right?
Right. And yes, he certainly was cool. Okay? But in the world of Obama worship, can we not forget the drone strikes? Can we not forget drone striking American citizens?
Can
we not forget continuing Afghanistan?
I know that Obama did a bunch of really horrible things, and he killed a lot of people, Mr. Drone Strikes and Mr. Deportation. He deported my favorite rapper, MF Doom. And
Yes.
I know he did horrible things, but that correspondence
he was
dinner,
cool.
that
And the point is, this is the good president.
Yeah. That correspondence dinner he did where he showed up with Keegan-Michael Key as Luther, his anger translator.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
That was a
So
good bit.
That is so good. And then we move on to number 45, our 45th president of the United States from January 20th, 2017 to January 20th, 2021. It's Fuckface Von Dumbass and his vice president, Davy, from Davy and Goliath. Donald Trump wanted Goliath, but he was put down decades ago.
Yes.
So they got Davy instead. And sometimes, like, something horrible would happen, and Mike Pence would turn to Donald Trump and said, "Gee, Donald, do you think it was God?" Just like that. So kudos to Donald. I'm just gonna come out and say it. Donald Trump and Elon Musk are American heroes because they are doing such a service to America. They are teaching people, hey, just because someone has money doesn't mean they're smart.
No.
Just like how Ben Carson is a great American hero for teaching all of us, just because I am a doctor doesn't mean I'm intelligent.
Yes.
So these people are all heroes. And Donald Trump is a hero. And everyone's like, oh man, Donald Trump is the worst. And I'm like, really? I am shocked. Who would have thought that having our president also be a WWE Hall of Fame inductee would be a bad idea?
Well, but all of a sudden, I just became gripped with fear. Like, what happened to Ben Carson? Is he still running something somewhere? Did we just kind of forget about him?
No, he's going from town to town, getting into adventures like Kane from Kung Fu. Meeting people, getting into adventures. Donald Trump, what a piece of shit this guy is. So then, number 46. Let's get to this before we get cut off by Zoom. Number 46, our current president from January 20th, 2021 to now. But did you know, buddy? You know how Make-A-Wish makes wishes come true for little kids who are about to die?
Yeah.
Now they're doing it for really old people.
Yeah.
Yay!
People who are inches away from death. And it's like, oh, great-great-grandpa Joe, you're about to die. What would you like to do? And Joe said, oh, your grandpa Joe just wants one thing and one thing only. To go into Willy Wonka's factory. Then I would get out of this bed and dance. But then they said, oh, Willy Wonka isn't real. How about being president? He said, sure, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm going to die soon anyway. And here you go.
But he
taught Make-A-Wish president.
Yes, he has taught us a lot of important things. He has taught us that saying poor children are just as smart as white children is a stutter.
Yeah, he said that.
That's a stutter.
That's
trying to call one of your administrative aides onto the stage having forgotten that they died. That's a stutter.
Yeah.
Okay? He taught us a lot about stuttering, where I always thought it was just a speech impediment.
It's
the inability to put on a jacket is a stutter.
The thing is that being a liberal, being a Democrat means that you can either vote for a horrible candidate or fascism. And it's like, okay, I of course am against fascism, but do I have to vote for this person?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm between a rock and a hard place. I will choose this person only because it's nerf or nothing. It's this horrible person.
Yeah.
Or concentration camps. I'm going to choose the horrible person, but can we just stop?
Yeah, that's where we're stuck. We're stuck between voting for somebody who isn't going to do a fucking thing for us, as opposed to the ones who will actively hurt us.
Yeah, it's a bit.
And
it's
it.
Just
so
ridiculous.
Yeah, we're going to vote for the guy who isn't going to do anything for us. Again,
I voted for Hillary
but sooner
Clinton.
or later, we're going to roll craps on that, and we're going to get the guy who's going to actively hurt us, because nobody's doing anything to stop them.
I voted for Hillary Clinton, but only because I liked the idea of us having two presidents that have had sex with each other. Because
True.
Warren G. Harding and Woodrow Wilson, they just masturbated together.
Yes.
There was no penetration. So, and let's not forget Eisenhower and Truman. Hello. But I liked the idea of like, oh, hey, our 45th president banged our 42nd president. And hell, maybe our 40th too. I don't know.
If that was part of the slogan, if that was one of the part of the campaign, she would have fucking won.
Yeah. So that has been our 3-part look at American presidents, and I hope you all learned something. Next episode, we're going to go back to our normal stories, or maybe I'll find some other thing that we could do, because this has been fun. 3 episodes. This has been a blast. I had fun doing this. So I'll see if we can do it again for some other thing. I don't want to do vice presidents, because that's lame, but we'll see. But join us next time for more educationally uneducational fun with Historic Approximations! And cut on that. We are going to be taking a short break. We're going to be showing some videos, some songs, some cartoons, having a bunch of fun. When we come back, we're finally going to get to this week's movie, the 2001...
We just cut.